Hello everybody, welcome back to a Rods and Nut video. In this one we're going to complete the build. So now that we have the reservoir positioned, what we got to do is take a look at spacing for running some tubing and really look at getting the loop order down. So what I did here is you can see we have a Singularity Computers ethereal mount holding up this Revo EK pump reservoir combo, and we have positioning there for the output of the pump. Looks like we're probably going to go into that res, into the radiator at that point, come out at the far one, then loop up and either go into the reservoir up top, the radiator up top, and then into the CPU block, and then to the GPU and back. So, but I think best to get all the blocks on everything, and then once I get that, I'll have a better line of sight as to where the tubing's gonna need to run to. So there's a bunch of different options for running the tubing. But one of the things that the customer wants is to have a fill port mounted. And I have a fill port right there, and it's positioned directly over where the reservoir is, so we got a straight shot to the top of that res. So what I'm going to do now is drill a hole, and let's get that guy installed. So, and then we're going to get some blocks together and then look at the tubing routing again. Okay. So guys, I got the hole drilled. One of the things, in case anybody's looking to install a, a fill port in, whether it be metal or wood, you got to get the right bit. You start out marking the hole and go with a small drill bit, and then you make it wider and wider with regular drill bits, and then when you get it to about 3/16 you can use one of these. And this is this company here, Irwin, makes it, but you can find anybody makes them. And this bit allows you to drill a perfectly good hole all the way up to the diameter that you need. And in this case we went to, I think it was 13/16. I don't think you can see that there, but anyway, it's marked on the inside, and we went almost to the very end. And so when you get it right, it goes right in. So we've got the fill port drilled out and put in. I'm going to go ahead and screw that together, and we'll get back to mounting some blocks so we can get to the point where we can start looking at the tube order. All right. Alright guys, so we have the EK Supremacy Evo full nickel water block, and here it is in all its glory. We're going to go ahead and mount that. Now these blocks are universal. They can mount for AMD, LG 115XX and 1366 even, and LG 2011, which is what I have here. This is an LG 2011 processor, actually a V3. Now they do come, so if you've installed these before, they do come with all the pieces to install those various kits and different backplates. LG 2011 is great because it already has the socket has places to mount the post, so you don't have to screw anything in from the back of the motherboard. It makes it a lot easier. One of the things though to note is that they also have plates and a tool where you can change the plate to improve the flow that's inside the block. Okay, so they have that, to be aware of that. But in this case, it comes pre-installed with the one that I need, so I don't have to mess with any of that. So I'm going to go ahead and install the posts. Supposed to do them just hand tight. we have this mounted in here. Now actually this is the way this motherboard gets mounted in there, so I'm going to orient it accordingly. And the graphics card is going to go there. Next up, I'm going to apply some thermal paste. I like to do the line method. So I'm just going to put a nice line about the length of the die. And I'm using Arctic MX4. I also like Arctic Silver. I have a few others, but this is very good. Okay. Now I'm orienting this so you can see it when you're looking into the case. You'll be able to see the block like this, and also the tubing is going to help coming in and out this way. As long as I decide not to change that. Then if you've ever done these before, or you see me do these before, you get them started very a little bit, and then you tighten them down in a star pattern to get them started. All right, so I do about 10. And you do it any way you want, as long as you continue the same sequence. And I just tighten them down until they pretty much bottoms out. That's it. That's it there. I'll take this off now. There we go. So we have the the EK Supremacy Evo full nickel water block installed. So you see, we got it installed in there. Bada bing. Gonna put it up on the case, and then what we're gonna do is take care of the GPU. Oh! All right, we'll be right back. Now it's time to remove this beautiful cooler from the stock 1070. And if you've seen GPUs disassembled before and water blocks put on, then you can fast forward through it. I will, I will also put it on fast forward. Put some music on there for you. But anyway, I'm going to show it. So those of you who have not seen this process done before, you have to remove all of the screws. And what I tend to do is first remove them from the back plate, and then you can see there are this around the CPU, especially these with the cutout. They are around the GPU itself. So I take the back plate off first, and then I'll take off the remaining screws if there's any, including those. So anyway, that's what I'm doing right now. And what I like to do is I like to get, I go to the auto parts store, Track Auto, Auto Advantage, or whatever you got, and get a little magnetic tray. I think they also sell them at Micro Center and other places. You might find them at Walmart, who knows these days, but they're great to hold all the pieces, especially with GPUs, because there's so many screws that come off of them. And what I do is I wrap them up and put them in little baggies for my customer, and then I send it to them. So if you ever need to reassemble it and return it to the manufacturer, you can take your water block off of it. And then ultimately what I have done is, when some of the systems that I built, I do them just for you guys for the videos, and Some I sell, some I just take apart and break down the pieces and sell them. And this is a key part of it, keeping all your pieces together and organized. So this guy right here. Aha. All right. Actually, these look like they are holding in the back plate as well. Now, sometimes there's thermal pads that can keep this guy. Oh, there's one screw I forgot. Sometimes there's thermal pads between this, of course, and the back of the PCB that'll also keep this on. So you just got to pry it up. And that's exactly what we have here. Nice thick piece of thermal covering up this area on the board. I'm gonna, actually for now, I'm just gonna leave it on there. And unless there's screws underneath here I need to remove. Nope. Okay, we have the screws removed. Now usually there's obviously power for the fans, and then there's powers for the LED. So usually there's two power connections that you have to be worried about. And here we have one fan, and then over here we have another one. Okay, we have the cooler removed. Now this plate also, I'm going to put that on there. We also have another plate here, looks like that is not required, but I don't see screws holding it together. So let's see. All right. Okay, here we have our GPU, bare bones. Have all the blocks removed, as you saw. Now we have the block parts, the screws in this bin here, and the other ones all packed away and the air cooler put away. Then we have the thermal pads for this area here of the GPU, and then we also have the memory pad. So I'm not going to take you through it, but the one thing that's really nice is EK is now pre-cutting them. So all you got to do is just put them right over your graphics card. So I'm going to go ahead and put these on and then peel the little, you got to peel the plastic off the outer portion here, and that can be a pain in the butt. So I'm not going to bore you with peeling it off every single one of these. So I'll be right back. All right, we have thermal pads installed, block just removed, thermal paste on the GPU. Now I'm going to try to place this directly over proper spots. And then what I like to do is flip it over onto a box. And So it's much easier when you have the lip of the, the PCI portion here. So it just sits very nicely like this. All right, now it's time to start laying out pieces. And since I'm putting the back plate on, I just got to remember if you're using the back plate, and this back plate is going to be quite the back plate. Look at that. That is beautiful. Anyway, there's certain screws that you just don't mount on it. So I just have to remember not to mount those at this time. But the rest I can mount. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing that now.
Niggas know, let niggas know, no.
The back plate outfitted with the thermal pads, and the motherboard's ready to receive it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points that we're not supposed to get screws installed. All the rest were installed, and with washers, and then these that hold the bracket on have screws with some nuts. So we're going to go ahead and place this guy on. Checking to make sure we're aligned okay.
No.
EVGA FC1080 GTX for the wind block installed. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and get these mounted into the system and take a look at the loop order, and then figure out what we're going to do about also the getting some of the wiring done before I put the blocks in, just in case I have tight space to move cables around. There's a couple of things that I want to do now. I think I want to go ahead and get all of the wiring and cabling done, so that when I get the tubing laid in, hopefully I don't have to take anything out. So, but one of the things that I want to do here is we're going to go ahead and use some dark side connect. Now, I got a bunch of these from our friend Daz Mode up in Canada, and he has a stock of all of these. And they're very popular now. You can get them most anywhere, but I just wanted to give a shout out to Daz, and he's got a ton of these that he was able to provide that I've used in a number of different builds. But these things are awesome, and I have other lighting that I'll show you later that is also dark side. But I'm going to go ahead and dress a couple of white LEDs along the bottom of this GPU. So let me get some of these guys out here and get them dressed, and then we'll see. Well, we won't be able to see now until I power it up later, but see how they look. So we got a couple of small 3mm LEDs. I'll have to dress them down here and bring them out. As you can see, there's some blocks completed and installed, and there's some cabling that I've mounted. One of the things that I did once I got the blocks in is I started routing some of the cables so that I could make sure that I won't have any interference when I go to start doing the tubing. So sometimes I've gotten ahead of myself, put tubing in, and then found it was a pain in the ass to route the cables where I needed to route them. And one of the things that, although I love K-slab cases, in this particular case, the Mercury S5, there's really not a lot of places to hide cables. So, you know, obviously back here right now we've only have one SSD in here, so there is space behind here. This mount will handle up to four SSDs. Customer only has one right now, and I did provide power connections so that there are the other three are in here, but they're hidden behind this. So, so there's some excess cable that's behind here, which you can't really see at all the way I have it cabled up. And then the hard drive, this mount will take two hard drives. So again, there's power already connected, but the other power connector's behind here. Now, I kind of got carried away when I started doing this cabling. You see I got the SATA cables in for the two drives. And then the other thing that I decided to do is once I had the block in, I don't know if you can see, I have LEDs mounted in the bottom portion of the block. So then I started routing the cable, and there is no place to run power up on top of here without it being ugly, so I ran them down back underneath, and I have them being terminated behind the hard drive. So again, that's one space I was able to use to conceal cables and try to get this to look as clean as possible. The other thing that I did is, I'll tilt this so you can see up here, the fans on the radiator. I went ahead and cabled those up, and I ran those around the corner, and then I ran them down here on the side. So from this vantage point, you can't see them. If you look in on an angle, you can see that I have them up in the corner there, and I have the cables running down out of the way, and then I have those connected to a motherboard header. Now, one of the things that I decided to do as well is the more I looked at where the tubing was going to go in the case, originally I had this radiator turned around so the ports were on the other side above where the reservoir was. Well, you know, that's all fine and dandy, but then I realized as I started looking at loop order that in order to integrate the ports from up there, I would have to do a whole bunch of tubing in this space. You would have tubing coming to them from the reservoir. You got tubing that's got to come from this rad here. And so it was kind of like, you know, run it out of the reservoir and pump into the rad, out of the rad, then maybe into the GPU, out of the GPU, into the CPU, and then up into this reservoir. So there was way too much tubing that was going to be concentrated in this space. So I decided to orient the radiator back this way. Now, these radiators, this is the same radiator right here, you can see the part of the tank that comes out with the ports is right down here. And so this adds about, from the edge of where this mount is about an inch and a half, roughly, between there and the end of this space. So my concern was, by turning this around, that I was going to run into bumping into the edge of this this portion of the case and maybe not get the mount down. But that wasn't an issue. You can see I do have it in there. But the problem is, though, to put a fan back here, it's going to have to be a thin mount fan. And I'm looking for a red one or a white one, and I don't have any available right now. Thermaltake makes one, but if you try to put the fan that I originally planned, this guy hits right up against the edge, and so I still might be able to do it, but I'm going to have to maybe put an adapter that comes down around and then connect in the hardline tubing. I mean, if I don't use a fan, I could put the hardline bits power connection right there and run it directly up to that. So I still have to decide what I'm going to do about that. It'd be nice if I can get a thin fan. That's really what I'd like to do, but I've got to shop around some more for that. So that's not going to be resolved at this moment. So cabling, as you can see, so I took care of the fan. You can see some of that here. You really don't see any of the fan power at all. And then we have, of course, the fan power for this radiator, which comes down, and I have it inside of this mount on the other side. So it comes out at the bottom. So I was able to create an adapter. I've got a 2-pin header, 3-pin header splitter to one. Then I have also, you can't see them right now, maybe if I turn it this way. All right, maybe you can see right up here I have a dark sides white LED strip, and I have one on the other side as well. So this LED strip, the power cable is hidden, comes down along this side, then goes underneath the radiator mount, and again, it ties into an adapter, which both of those plug right into this this cable mount. I mean, into this power connector, which goes to the power supply. This other power connector here is for the pump. So we've got to tap into the pump, which is going to be coming down right here. So I did my best so far to hide cables. Now obviously I don't have the PSU power to the motherboard. I don't have it to the 8-pin yet, and then the other power cable is going to be going up to the graphics card. So there's 3 more cables, but the power supply cable is going to loop right around here. That's not going to be an issue. This cable here is either going to loop over, or I'm going to dress it and come through here possibly. I'm not sure. I think I have to figure that one out. But right now, the way I measured it was to come around right here. Let's see here. So again, so far cabling, the only cabling really that you're seeing a lot of. And by the way, I bought these cables. They're custom made through Cable Mods. Cable Mods has a configurator online that did a great job, and for me, or for any customer, they turn these around pretty quickly, especially given the holidays. So I'm really happy and pleased. Look to be very nice cables. They were done in the color scheme that we wanted. We got to pick out the pattern as well, and they don't have any heat shrink that was needed. They splice them right in. They only use power cord. I happen to love MDPC, but they don't offer that. And my the other company I usually use, again with the holidays, they were backed up, and I need to get the system done and to the customer quickly. So anyway, these cables came out very nicely, and so we really like them. They're looking good. They'll be put in here soon. And then the other thing I wanted to show you guys is I talked about you saw the dark side LED strip. Well, basically in all of my builds now, I get I buy dark side cables and adapters. So here's a you know, a 2-3 pin splitter to one. This is actually what I used on each of the, for each of the fans. They come down into one of these, and then they're connected into the system. And Dasmod up in Canada, Dasmod is, he's the provider of these dark side, and here's a dark side white 12-inch strip, and here's another one. This was a 7 3/4, so basically an almost an 8-inch strip, LED strip. They make UV ones. They make strips that are RGB. They do a fantastic job, and then they have just about any kind of adapter that you would need. You take a look at it. These are kind of actually one kind of what I use. This is a power adapter that goes into your power supply, and then it connects into your LED cables or your yeah, the LED cables basically. And you notice they're 2 pins. So these have a great locking system where you just slide them in, and then you push all the way, and then they snap in there, and they will not come out. They do not come out. You have to really work at it to get them off, which is great. And they have them, you just about any, here's a single one. So this again is providing power from your power supply to one. This one here has coming from the power supply with you know, an adapter and extension, so you can add more to that, and this has got 2. Here, this one is, this is made for, I believe this is an RGB power connection, so for the RGB setup you can get those. Here is one that's from power supply to 2. Here is a 3-pin header, so if you wanted to provide power from your fan, from your motherboard, you could do that. So that's a 3 to a fan splitter, 3 here, and then also provides you power for the LEDs. Here's a super long extension for LEDs right here. Here's another one, just not so. Here's another one that goes from a 3-pin header to 2-pin power here. And let me show you. So I'm telling you, Daz does not mess around. We have here, I have a batch of, this is a red dimmable 12-inch LED strip. Here we have a white one. Here we have another white one. Here's a UV one. Here's an RGB setup right here. RGB, and that RGB has a different kind of connector. The rest of these all connect up using the 2-pin connectors that I've been showing you. Here's another. Here's a blue, and under here, stuck to it, is an orange. And here we have another UV, and here we have a blue. Here we have, sticker came off of this one, don't know. Here's an RGB one. Here's a red one. Here's another orange one, and here's a green one. And just so you can get an idea of what they look like, these suckers are, you know, nice. They're basically a PCB, but they're very bright LEDs mounted on them. And then this one here has the connectors, and I've been showing you the cables. So, you know, you mount this up inside your case, and then you just slide this into a power lead, and then you dress it within your case wherever you need it to go. And this one actually is kind of daisy chained. This one has a connection to the other end, so you could feed to yet another, to another one. So these are all pretty amazing products. I really, really do enjoy using dark side, and basically since Daz came out with these, this is all I've been using, dark side lighting in my cases. They are reliable and they look fantastic, and you'll see when I get this case all fired up. But as you can see here, basically if you need it, the color and the size and you need the proper adapter to connect it to your system, within your system, they make it. And they're sleeved very nicely. Heat shrink covering up, very nicely done. Very nice. You cannot see colors of wires in it. I don't know if they use, I guess they do use here. This one I pulled back the heat shrink a little bit on it, but you can see they do use red and black, and you can't see that red. You cannot see it bleed through that at all. So he's using very nice sleeving, and it's fantastic. I've been building I've had most of this for about a year now. As I told you guys, I took off with a lot of things going on in my life, but now I'm back into it, and I've had these sitting, and I've used them actually in my personal build, my STH10, and I actually used them in the RGB build. So I didn't talk about them at the time, but I wanted to get the word out now. If you're not familiar with dark side lighting and cables and adapters, you should be. And if you're serious about your building, you should really give it a shot. And also they do provide 3M Stickum, but I like to use clips. I prefer to use clips because then they're easy to remove. So these are small 3M clips that I can slide them right in here, so I can mount them in the case and then be able to pop in an LED strip whenever I need to. And these things stick and they stay stuck and ripping them out can be a hell of a job if you need to, but that's the way I would prefer it. All right, so oh, and also I forgot, not only are those the LED strips, here are LEDs. So here's some 5mm module LEDs. So the BITS power blocks, this is an EK block, but the BITS power blocks take 5mm LEDs, and the EK ones take 3mm. So I have a bunch. Here's a 3mm one right here. So again, same kind of deal. The 2-pin power connection, sleeve beautifully, heat shrink, and LED at the end. And they're pretty strong and robust. Obviously on GPU blocks or CPU blocks, you got to get these LEDs, and usually you can just push them in and they'll wedge in there perfectly. Sometimes I've used a little bit of silicone, clear silicone, to keep them in place. But you got to be careful over time if you're constantly removing and reinstalling them. There's little leads in here that over time you can bend them and break them off. So they're pretty robust once you got your system ready to go, you put them in, but you just got to be careful removing them, and especially if you use any kind of silicone, you got to grab this really good with a pair of pliers to get them out so they don't, so that they're still intact if you want to reuse them. They're not that expensive. They're actually pretty reasonable. That's why I like them, and they work great. So yeah, here is a ton of LEDs that I buy and use for my builds, and they have them in various different colors. Mainly I use white in most of my builds for the blocks. Since I use colored coolant, I highlight the blocks with the white light, and then shows off the coolant inside. All right, so let's get back to the build. Well guys, we've taken up quite a bit of time on this video so far, coming up on almost 40 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and end it now, and we'll finish up the build in the next video. So I hope you're liking this. I know I spent some time on going through some basics, but if you're new, hopefully you appreciated that. And like I usually do, take you through some of the decisions and some of the questions that I ask and revisit when I'm doing a build. So it usually never is exactly how you originally plan it, but that's part of the fun, and that's part of the joy and the creative process of building these custom systems. So anyway, hope you liked the video. If you did, please like and favorite, and if you're so inclined, please subscribe. That's it from Ron's a Nut. I'll be back shortly with the final build of this EVGA EK system. See you next time.